Hey there, today we're going to go ahead and start off our next portion of our linear regression unit slightly different. We are going to create a scatter plot, and you'll notice I have already inputted all of the data into both the L1, which in this case for the problem that we have at hand would be your explanatory variable or the X variable. And then when my L2, I have the fair, and that is going to be my Y variable. Now it's already pre-put into the calculator here just so I could show you a slight something that you're able to get, which is this summary of statistics that people often forget. And you're going to find on our information, I include these for you so that you can figure out, did you input all the data correctly? I'm always big about double checking all of your work. So if your information were to be included or inputted correctly, you would be able to get the following summary of statistics. Now here's how you get the summary. You're going to hit Stat, you're going to go over to Calc, and since we have information both in our L1 and our L2, that is going to make it a two-variable stat. So I'm going to go down to two-variable stat, hit Enter. There's my X list is L1, my Y list is L2. And you'll see the means. Means is referring to your X bar. Here is your X bar, 853.7. Now notice I've rounded that, 853.7. That is your X bar. That means this information in the L1 was inputted correctly. If I wanted to calculate the standard deviation, we're looking for an answer of 497.8, which that is our S sub X. And that is going to be S sub X, 497.8. Now, since we had a second column, L2, if I go down, we'll see I now have a Y bar. That is going to be your mean for your L2, which says here 244.3. If I take a look, it says 244.3. And since I want the standard deviation, I am looking for S sub X of 56.37, S sub X 56.37. Now, this information was already inputted. Again, I want to drive the fact of what's going to happen if you don't input the data correctly, but I am going to go through how to put all this information in and wanted you to see this beforehand. Now, I am going to clear this out, second plus 712, and I'm going to go through the steps here that we have on in our actual notes, and they are also provided on your recipe card, our RFS 4.4 for calculating graphing residuals. Now for this, we will go out of order. We're not going to go in these exact steps because for this unit, it depends on what I am asking you to complete. I am asking you to get a graph. Therefore, we're going to be using steps 1, 2, and 6 here in this case. So I've cleared out all my information. Let's go ahead and start off. Step 1, we see turn on the stat diagnostics. So I'm going to press mode. Go down to Stat Diagnostics. There's Stat Diagnostics. Go ahead, turn it on. Highlight it on. I pressed Enter, and now I'm going to press Second Quit. I've now completed step number 1. What I'm basically saying is whatever data I input, put it on the graph. Put those points for our scatter plot. Step 2, enter in our data. It is going to be the normal of what we do, Stat Edit. Now, obviously, I cleared everything out, so I do need to take the time to input everything. So 568. And you'll see I already went ahead and have an error here. I'm going to leave that because I want you to see what happens, which is why I always tell you to take your time when you are inputting your information. Because it's very easy, even for me, to go ahead and make a mistake. So here it is. I highly suggest as you go through this part of the unit that you do actually take the time to actually run this so that you can make sure you are running these steps. This is a little bit more complicated than what we are used to. So it's very vital that you do take the time to try and practice. Okay. Now I'm going to go over to my next column. There's my L2, start inputting my L2, and we're inputting the fair, so that is the Y variable, so 219. Remember, I know that I have gone ahead and made a mistake already on purpose. Whoops. So again, you're seeing the time that it takes me to put this in, so it is the same amount of time, which is why it is very key that you go ahead and double check all of your information to make sure that it is there. Almost done. And then a quick double check. Now I've got in all the information here. We already know that I do have, in fact, an error here, and that is the very first one. But remember, there was a summary of stats, summary statistics here. I'm going to double check it and go stat, calc. I want the 2 var stats. I'm going to hit enter, enter, enter. Now we see 825.38, the mean, the X bar here is not the same. If we do look at the standard deviation, S sub X, that does also change it. Now let's look at the Y values. Ooh, I do have an error because my fair says 244.3, I have 231. So I now know that I need to go back to stat edit and I need to double check all of my information here. So I know this should be 568. And now I'm actually going to go through, and this is why I'm telling you that's why it's very, very important. And this is time consuming, but keep your information in your calculator because we are going to be using these values for all of the notes. So make sure you don't just clear out your calculator memory to clear out your calculator memory. Okay. And again, I'm going through. Somewhere I made a mistake. There it is, 24. I'm pretty sure that's where my total mistake is, so I'm going to retype that in for 249. And since I'm already here, I am going to just double check the rest of these. Again, you know me, double check it. Yes, this is again time consuming, but again, this is how we avoid making mistakes. You clearly see I made a mistake on purpose, and then I accidentally forgot something and typed it in wrong, and I did clearly make a mistake. So back through to double check those summary statistics we're looking for. I want option 2. Okay, I want my Y list, L1, L2. There we go. X bar, 853.72. It matches. 497.8 for S sub X. There's my 244.33. And if I go down on my screen, there's my S sub Y, 56.37. So I've now gone ahead and I've completed the stat diagnostics and I have inputted the data correctly. Last part we need to do is to graph it. And so if we're going to graph, this on your recipe card happens to be step number 6. So if you want to, at this point, for a scatter plot, on here, cross out the number 3, even though it is the 3rd step we would do in order to create a scatter plot, and write the number 6 here so that you know it correlates to 1, 2, and step 6 in order to graph it. So it tells me I'm going to press second stat plot. So second Y equals stat plot. I am going to highlight plot 1, hit enter. Remember, we want to turn this on, so we do need to hit enter again. And then again, if you notice, it says highlight the first graph. We've highlighted. That is a scatter plot here. We're not making box and whiskers with outliers or bar graphs like we've seen earlier in the year. I've got my L1, L2, so I'm going to keep advancing, going down. Okay. Now notice here, there's next direction says zoom 9. So I'm literally going to press zoom, and 9 says zoom stat. So zoom, and now I want the number 9. And I see the following graph. If you see here on the notes, you'll see that it goes ahead and resembles exactly what we see. And there you have it. You have a scatter plot that you have created, and it is very important for you to make sure you turn on these stat diagnostics at the very beginning. So I hope that you find this helpful.